There are moments in life that split everything into two halves. Before and after. For Daniel, that moment arrived on a quiet Wednesday evening in November when his phone buzzed with a message from a number he didn't recognize. No greeting. No introduction. Just a photograph. A baby girl. Maybe 4 months old. Dark eyes. A small pink blanket. And a caption underneath that read, "I think you should know what your girlfriend has been hiding from you." Daniel stared at that photo for a long time. Then he set his phone face down on the table, poured himself a glass of water he never drank, and sat in complete silence for 20 minutes. Because somewhere in the back of his mind, in the place we keep the thoughts we're too afraid to look at directly, something had already started making sense. This is a Dark Truth Files story. And it begins the way the most devastating ones always do, with two people who loved each other deeply, and one secret that was always going to surface. Daniel and Olivia met in 2012. He was 26. She was 24. They were introduced through mutual friends at a birthday gathering in Atlanta, the kind of night nobody plans to be significant but somehow turns out to be the most important night of a decade. Daniel was a structural engineer. Methodical. Calm under pressure. The kind of man who reads the instruction manual before assembling anything and genuinely enjoys it. His friends called him the most reliable person they'd ever met. His family called him the steady one. Olivia was a marketing strategist. Creative. Instinctive. She made decisions the way most people breathe, quickly and without overthinking. Where Daniel planned, Olivia improvised. Where he calculated risk, she leaned into it. They were, by every external measure, completely opposite people. And yet, by the end of that first night, they had talked for 4 hours straight without noticing the time. By their third date, Daniel told his brother he had met someone different. By their 6th month together, they were spending every weekend at one or the other's apartment, gradually moving their things across town one overnight bag at a time. By 2014, they were officially living together. By 2016, they had a dog, a ridiculous golden retriever named Biscuit, who slept between them and had opinions about everything. By 2018, their friend group had simply stopped distinguishing between them. You invited Daniel, you invited Olivia. They were a unit. A given. A certainty in an uncertain world. 11 years. 11 years of growing alongside each other. 11 years of arguments about whose turn it was to cook, and vacations they almost didn't book, and the version of the future they had quietly been building together without ever writing it down. Daniel had a ring. Had owned it for 8 months. A simple band with a single stone, the exact one Olivia had pointed to once, casually, at a jeweler's window, thinking he wasn't paying attention. He was always paying attention. He was 2 months from proposing. If Daniel is honest and in therapy, eventually, he became very honest, there were signs in 2022 that something had changed in Olivia. Not dramatic signs. Not the kind that appear in movies, where the guilty party starts acting erratically and leaving obvious clues. Real signs are quieter than that. Real signs are things you explain away because the alternative explanation is one you're not ready to face. She started working later. New campaign. High-pressure client. Made complete sense. She became more protective of her phone. Turned it face down on tables. Took calls in the other room. He noticed but said nothing because he trusted her, and because asking felt like an accusation. She was more distant during their evenings together. Present but slightly elsewhere. Like she was managing something in the background of her mind constantly. And once, just once, in October 2022. She came home late on a Friday and he noticed she had changed her clothes. She'd texted him she was coming straight from work. But the outfit she arrived in was not the one she'd left in that morning. He noticed. He said nothing. He told himself he was being paranoid. That he was letting insecurity invent a problem where there wasn't one. That this was what 11 years looked like, comfortable enough to not explain every hour of your day. He put the thought away in that place we all have, that the place for the things we're not ready to know yet. And life continued. November 2023. The message arrived at 7:14 p.m. on a Wednesday. Unknown number. The photograph. The caption, "I think you should know what your girlfriend has been hiding from you." Daniel's first instinct was dismissal. A mistake. A wrong number. Someone stirring drama in someone else's life who had sent it to the wrong person. But the baby in the photograph had Olivia eyes. He sat with that for a long time. Then he did what methodical, careful men do when they are terrified. He gathered information before he opened his mouth. He replied to the unknown number with one question: "Who are you?" The response came in 3 minutes: "Someone who thinks you deserve the truth. Ask Olivia about the spring of 2022. Ask her where she was the week she said she was at the conference in Nashville." Daniel put his phone down. He remembered that week. April 2022. A 4-day marketing conference in Nashville. She'd sent him a photo from the hotel lobby. They'd talked every evening. He remembered the conversations, easy, normal, the kind you have when everything is fine. He picked his phone back up. "What's the baby's name?" he typed. The response, Aria. "She's 17 months old." 17 months. Daniel did the math without wanting to. 17 months from November 2023 meant Aria was born in approximately June 2022. Which meant she was conceived in approximately September or October 2021. He sat completely still. Then he went to the drawer where he kept the ring box and he picked it up and he held it in both hands for a very long time. Olivia came home at 8:30 that evening. He heard her key in the lock. Heard Biscuit scramble off the couch to meet her at the door the way he always did. Heard her laugh, that easy, familiar laugh, and tell the dog he was ridiculous. She walked into the living room and stopped. Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table. Phone face up. The photograph still on the screen. She saw it immediately. Later she said she had dreamed of this moment for over a year. Had rehearsed explanations. Had prepared versions of the truth that were gentler, that gave context, that started with "I need to tell you something" instead of ending with "I've been caught." None of those rehearsed versions came out. She sat down across from him. Daniel turned the phone so she could see the screen clearly and said, "Is this yours?" Olivia looked at the photograph. And then she looked at Daniel, at 11 years of a man who had never once given her a reason to doubt him, and she said, "Yes." One word. And the ground fell out from under everything. The full story came out over the next 2 hours. Not all at once. In pieces. The way confessions always arrive, reluctantly, with gaps, with the parts that make the person look worst coming last. In the summer of 2021, Olivia had reconnected with a former colleague named Marcus at an industry event. They had always had an easy chemistry, the kind that feels harmless when you're in a relationship until suddenly it isn't. What began as professional drinks became personal messages. What became personal messages became meetings. And over 3 months, September, October, November of 2021, it became an affair. She ended it herself in December 2021. She told Daniel none of it. She went home, looked at the man she loved, and decided the past was the past and it was over and she would spend the rest of her life being better than what she had done. In January 2022, she discovered she was pregnant. She sat alone with that knowledge for 4 weeks. She could not be certain who the father was. She could not bring herself to tell Daniel. Not then, not with everything they had built, not with the future she could see so clearly in front of them, not when telling him might mean losing all of it. She contacted Marcus privately. He agreed to a DNA test after the birth. He agreed to discretion. He was not, by any measure, a bad person, just someone caught in a situation that had no clean exits. In April 2022, she attended the real conference in Nashville. That part was true. But she stayed 2 extra days, alone, to think. To decide. She decided to have the baby quietly. To tell her family there had been a brief relationship that hadn't worked out. To keep Daniel completely separate from all of it. In June 2022, Aria was born. The DNA test confirmed Marcus was the father. Olivia took 6 weeks of personal leave, telling Daniel her mother needed help after minor surgery. He had offered to come. She had insisted she was fine. She was not fine. She arranged everything. Marcus's family would raise Aria day to day. She would be present financially and visit regularly. She would be in her daughter's life, but at a careful distance that Daniel would never see. And then she came home. To Atlanta. To Daniel. To Biscuit and shared dinners and the comfortable architecture of a life she had decided she would not destroy. She had been living this way for 17 months. When she finished speaking, Daniel was quiet for a long time. Not the quiet of someone processing slowly. The quiet of someone who has already understood everything and is now sitting inside the understanding, feeling the full weight of it. He said, "I have a ring in that drawer." Olivia closed her eyes. He said, "I have been planning to propose for 8 months. I was going to do it in January. I had a whole evening planned. I picked the restaurant where we had our first date." She said, "Daniel." He said, "I need you to leave tonight." Not shouted. Not broken. Said the way he said everything important, quietly, with complete certainty. "I need you to leave tonight. Take what you need. We'll figure out the rest later. But tonight I need to be in this apartment alone." Olivia stood. She called a friend. She packed a bag. She paused at the door and looked back at him at 11 years sitting at a kitchen table, hands flat on the surface, not looking at her. She left. Daniel sat there until 3 a.m. Then he went to the drawer, took out the ring box, and put it in the back of his car. He returned it to the jeweler the following week. The months that followed were not clean or cinematic. They were the ordinary wreckage of 2 people untangling 11 years. Their shared lease had 8 months remaining. Daniel stayed. Olivia moved into her friend's spare room temporarily, then found her own apartment. They divided their things over 2 difficult weekends, with Biscuit watching from the couch like he understood more than he should. Their mutual friends fractured, some staying neutral, some choosing sides without being asked. The birthday gatherings that had always included both of them quietly became gatherings that included one. Daniel went to therapy. He says it saved him from becoming a person he didn't want to be. He says the therapist helped him understand something important, that his grief was not just about what Olivia had done but about the version of the future he had been carrying, the proposal, the marriage, the next chapter, dissolving all at once. He had not just lost a relationship. He had lost a planned life. That, he said, took much longer to mourn than the relationship itself. Olivia is raising Aria now. More directly, more bravely than the arrangement she had designed from a distance. Marcus co-parents with genuine involvement. It is not the life any of them would have drawn up, but it is honest. It is real. And Arya is, by all accounts, a fierce and happy child who has no idea yet how complicated her arrival was. Olivia told a close friend something that stayed with that friend long after the conversation ended. She said, "I thought keeping the secret was protecting the relationship. But what I was actually doing was protecting myself. And there's a difference. And I knew the difference, and I chose myself anyway." That's the part one have to live with. Daniel is doing well now. He runs on Sunday mornings. He got promoted last spring. He kept Biscuit, of course he kept Biscuit. He has started, cautiously and without pressure, to imagine a new version of the future. Smaller than the one he lost. But his. He said something in a conversation with his brother that has stayed with me since I heard it. The hardest thing wasn't finding out she'd been unfaithful. The hardest thing was realizing I had been fully present, fully committed, fully in, while she was managing a secret life in the background. Not because I was blind. Because I trusted her. And I don't know how to stop being someone who trusts the people I love. I don't actually want to stop. But it cost me everything. That is the truth this story is carrying. Not that love makes you foolish. That real love, the kind that is fully present, fully committed, fully given, is also fully vulnerable. You cannot protect yourself from betrayal by loving less. You can only decide, after, who you choose to be. Daniel chose to be the kind of man who returns the ring quietly, goes to therapy, keeps the dog, runs on Sundays, and eventually, when he is ready, tries again. That is not a small thing. That is, in fact, everything. 11 years. A hidden baby. A ring that never left the box. And two people who now have to build entirely different futures than the ones they had planned. If you took something from Marcus and Olivia's story today, share it. Pass it on to someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Dark Truth Files, because every week, we uncover the stories the world tries to bury. And sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply tell the truth out loud. Drop a comment below. One word. Just tell me, whose side are you on? Until next time. The truth is always worth finding. Even when it costs everything.